Picture this: you're scrolling through your phone, maybe feeling a bit lost in life, when suddenly you stumble across a story that's been captivating humans for nearly 3,000 years. A story so powerful that it literally invented half the storytelling techniques we still use today. I'm talking about Homer's Odyssey, and if you think ancient Greek literature is boring, you're about to have your mind completely blown. This isn't just some dusty old book that professors force you to read. The Odyssey is the ultimate adventure story, the original superhero journey, and honestly, it makes Marvel movies look like children's cartoons. We're talking about a man who fights Cyclops, resists sirens whose songs drive men insane, travels to the literal underworld, and spends 10 years trying to get home while the gods themselves conspire against him. Sound familiar? That's because every epic journey, story you've ever loved borrowed from this masterpiece. But here's what's really incredible. This story wasn't even written down originally. It was passed down through generations of storytellers who memorized thousands of lines of poetry. Imagine being so captivating that people remembered your story word for centuries. That's the power we're dealing with here. Today I'm going to break down this legendary epic in a way that will change how you see storytelling forever. We'll explore why this ancient tale is more relevant to your modern life than any self-help book, and trust me, by the end of this you'll understand why the Odyssey is considered the foundation of Western literature. The Odyssey stands as one of humanity's most enduring masterpieces, attributed to the legendary Greek poet Homer sometime in the 8th century BCE. This epic poem consists of 24 books written in dactylic hexameter, the same rhythmic pattern that made it so memorable for ancient storytellers. While many people know Homer also created the Iliad, which focuses on the Trojan War itself, the Odyssey serves as its spiritual sequel, following the aftermath and consequences of that legendary conflict. What makes the Odyssey extraordinary isn't just its age or influence, but its sophisticated narrative structure that was revolutionary for its time. Homer employs techniques like starting in the middle of the action, using flashbacks to reveal crucial backstory, and weaving multiple plot lines together in ways that modern screenwriters still study and emulate. The poem masterfully balances supernatural elements with deeply human emotions, creating a story that operates on multiple levels simultaneously. The cultural context surrounding this work is equally fascinating. Ancient Greece was a collection of independent city-states, each with their own customs and beliefs, yet the Odyssey helped create a shared cultural identity. It established many foundational concepts about heroism, loyalty, hospitality, and the relationship between mortals and gods that would influence Western thought for millennia. Perhaps most remarkably, this epic emerged from an oral tradition where professional storytellers, called rhapsodes, would recite the entire poem from memory at festivals and gatherings. The fact that it survived this process and was eventually transcribed speaks to its incredible power to captivate audiences. The Odyssey wasn't just entertainment, it was education, moral instruction, and cultural preservation all wrapped into one unforgettable narrative experience. The Odyssey follows Odysseus, king of Ithaca, during his tumultuous 10-year journey home after the fall of Troy, while his fellow Greek warriors have long since returned to their families. Odysseus remains trapped by divine intervention and his own complicated relationship with the gods, particularly Poseidon, who harbours a devastating grudge against him. The story begins 20 years after Odysseus first left for war, with his homeland of Ithaca in chaos. His wife Penelope faces relentless pressure from over 100 suitors who have invaded their palace, consuming their wealth while demanding she choose a new husband. These men assume Odysseus is dead and seek to claim both his throne and his remarkable wife. Meanwhile, their son Telemachus has grown to manhood, never knowing his father, feeling powerless against the suitors' overwhelming presence. Homer brilliantly structures the narrative by starting with Telemachus' own journey to discover his father's fate, travelling to visit other Greek heroes who have returned from Troy. This allows readers to understand the scope of Odysseus' reputation and the mystery surrounding his absence. We then shift to Odysseus himself, stranded on the island of the goddess Calypso, who has held him captive for 7 years despite his desperate longing for home. The bulk of the epic recounts Odysseus' incredible adventures as he finally breaks free and attempts to reach Ithaca. From his encounters with the Lotus Eaters, who make men forget their homes, to his famous battle with the Cyclops Polyphemus, to his journey through the underworld, where he speaks with the spirits of the dead, each episode tests different aspects of his character while revealing deeper truths about human nature and divine justice. The Cyclops encounter represents one of literature's most gripping action sequences, while revealing crucial character flaws that drive the entire story forward. When Odysseus and his men become trapped in Polyphemus' cave, they face a monster who devours humans like snacks. Odysseus devises a brilliant escape plan, getting the Cyclops drunk and blinding him with a sharpened stake, then hiding beneath sheep to slip past the creature's groping hands. However, Odysseus' fatal flaw emerges when he cannot resist revealing his true identity to the defeated monster, shouting his name and lineage in triumph. This moment of pride allows Polyphemus to call upon his father Poseidon for revenge, setting in motion the divine persecution that extends Odysseus' journey for years. The underworld journey showcases Homer's sophisticated understanding of human psychology and the weight of the leadership decisions. Odysseus must travel to Hades to consult the prophet Tiresias about his path home, but this supernatural quest becomes an emotional reckoning with his past. He encounters the spirits of his comrades who died at Troy, his own mother who passed away waiting for his return, and great heroes whose fates remind him of mortality's inevitability. The sequence demonstrates how true heroism requires facing one's deepest fears and accepting responsibility for decisions that cost lives. Even in victory, the Sirens episode reveals the complex relationship between knowledge, temptation, and wisdom that runs throughout the epic. These creatures possess the power to drive men insane with their irresistible songs that promise ultimate knowledge and understanding. Odysseus wants to hear their song, but knows it means certain death, so he orders his men to plug their ears with wax while tying him to the ship's mast. This scene brilliantly illustrates the tension between human curiosity and practical wisdom, showing that sometimes the greatest courage lies in acknowledging our limitations and preparing for our own weaknesses. Scylla and Charybdis present Odysseus with an impossible choice that epitomizes leadership under extreme pressure. Forced to navigate between a six-headed monster and a deadly whirlpool, he must choose which of his men will die, as survival requires sacrifice. Odysseus chooses to face Scylla, knowing she will devour 6 of his crew, but that this represents their only chance of survival. This episode demonstrates that true leadership sometimes demands making terrible decisions for the greater good, accepting personal guilt for the welfare of others. The cattle of the sun, God create the final test of discipline and loyalty that ultimately destroys Odysseus' remaining crew. Despite explicit warnings that touching these sacred animals means death, his starving men slaughter the cattle while Odysseus sleeps. This betrayal of divine law results in Zeus destroying their ship, leaving only Odysseus alive. The incident reveals how desperation can corrupt even loyal followers, and how leaders must sometimes bear the consequences of others' failures. Calypso's island represents the seductive danger of abandoning one's purpose for comfortable imprisonment. The goddess offers Odysseus immortality and eternal pleasure if he remains with her, yet he chooses mortality and uncertainty over paradise without freedom. This 7-year imprisonment tests whether Odysseus' desire for home represents genuine love or mere stubbornness, ultimately proving that authentic happiness requires purpose and connection rather than mere pleasure. The return to Ithaca and the suitors' contest brings all the epic's themes together in a climactic test of identity and justice. Disguised as a beggar, Odysseus must prove his worth not through supernatural adventures, but through his intimate knowledge of home and his ability to reclaim what belongs to him. The contest involving his great bow becomes a moment of revelation, where physical strength, mental cunning, and moral authority converge to restore proper order to his household and kingdom. The power of perseverance through seemingly impossible circumstances emerges as the epic's most fundamental lesson. Odysseus faces obstacles that would destroy ordinary individuals, yet he continues pushing forward despite losing his ships, his men, and nearly his sanity. His journey teaches us that resilience isn't about avoiding failure or pain, but about maintaining purpose and direction even when everything seems hopeless. In our modern lives, this translates to understanding that setbacks and delays don't invalidate our goals. They simply test our commitment to achieving them. Strategic thinking combined with adaptability proves more valuable than brute strength or natural talent. Throughout his adventures, Odysseus survives not because he's the strongest warrior, but because he can assess situations quickly and devise creative solutions. Whether he's escaping the Cyclops cave or navigating supernatural dangers, his success comes from mental flexibility and careful planning. This reminds us that in complex modern challenges, the ability to think critically and adapt strategies often matters more than raw ability or resources. The importance of loyalty and trust in relationships becomes evident through both positive and negative examples throughout the story. Penelope's unwavering faithfulness contrasts sharply with the betrayal of Odysseus' crew and the treachery of the suitors. The epic demonstrates that genuine relationships require mutual commitment and sacrifice, showing us that trust, once broken, creates consequences that extend far beyond the immediate betrayal. In our interconnected world, this lesson about reliability and faithfulness remains absolutely crucial. Pride and ego can sabotage even our greatest achievements, as Odysseus learns repeatedly throughout his journey. His decision to reveal his identity to Polyphemus transforms a brilliant victory into years of divine punishment, while his crew's pride and impatience ultimately cost them their lives. The story warns us that success can breed dangerous overconfidence, and that humility and self-awareness are essential for sustained achievement and happiness in both personal and professional context. The concept of xenia, or sacred hospitality, reveals timeless truths about community and human connection. Throughout the epic, characters are judged by how they treat strangers and guests, with proper hospitality marking civilized society, while its absence signals moral corruption. This ancient principle translates directly to modern concepts of empathy, social responsibility, and the importance of helping others without expecting immediate return, showing us that our treatment of vulnerable people reflects our true character. Divine justice operates according to cosmic principles that transcend immediate human understanding, yet ultimately serve moral order. The gods in the Odyssey aren't arbitrary in their punishments and rewards. They respond to human actions according to deeper spiritual laws about respect, humility, and proper behaviour. This teaches us that our actions have consequences that extend beyond what we can immediately see, and that ethical behaviour serves purposes larger than personal benefit. The difference between a house and a home lies in the relationship and memories that give places meaning rather than physical structures alone. Odysseus' desperate longing for Ithaca isn't about buildings or landscape, but about connection to family, community, and identity. This distinction helps us understand that true belonging comes from relationships and shared history rather than material possessions or geographical location. Identity must be actively claimed and proven rather than simply assumed or inherited. Throughout his return, Odysseus must repeatedly demonstrate who he is through actions rather than declarations, showing that authentic identity emerges through behaviour and choices rather than titles or past achievements. This lesson applies directly to how we establish ourselves in careers, relationships, and communities. The balance between accepting help and maintaining self-reliance shapes successful navigation of complex social situations. Odysseus receives crucial assistance from gods and mortals alike, yet his success ultimately depends on his own decisions and actions. This teaches us the importance of building supportive relationships while taking personal responsibility for our outcomes. Forgiveness and restoration require justice and accountability rather than simply forgetting past wrongs. The epic's conclusion involves both punishment for those who violated sacred trust and generous reward for those who remained faithful, showing us that healthy relationships require addressing betrayal honestly while celebrating loyalty appropriately. The enduring power of Homer's Odyssey lies not in its ancient origins, but in its profound understanding of universal human experiences that transcend time and culture. This epic continues resonating with readers nearly 3 millennia after its creation because it addresses fundamental questions about purpose, identity, loyalty, and the price of achieving our deepest desires. Every generation discovers new relevance in Odysseus' struggles, whether they're navigating career challenges, relationship difficulties, or personal transformations. What makes this work particularly valuable for contemporary readers is the sophisticated treatment of success and failure as interconnected rather than opposite experiences. Odysseus' greatest triumphs often contain the seeds of future disasters, while his most devastating setbacks frequently provide opportunities for growth and wisdom. This nuanced understanding of life's complexity offers a mature alternative to oversimplified narratives about achieving happiness or success. The Odyssey also provides a masterclass in storytelling techniques that remain relevant for anyone interested in communication, leadership, or creative expression. Homer's ability to weave together multiple narrative threads, create memorable characters, and maintain suspense across vast stretches of time offers lessons that apply to modern presentations, marketing, writing, and relationship building. Perhaps most importantly, this epic reminds us that the journey home, whether literal or metaphorical, requires both external action and internal transformation. Odysseus cannot simply return to Ithaca as the same person who left 20 years earlier. He must prove his worthiness and reclaim his identity through testing and trial. This insight speaks directly to anyone undergoing major life transitions, career changes, or personal growth processes, suggesting that true homecoming requires becoming worthy of what we seek to reclaim or achieve.